Well, hello there. My name is HW. Uncle Willie, that's some good acoustic tone. That's right, good acoustic tone, because today we're looking at the Kemper, the new acoustic simulator. And I made you guys a nice little preset here that you can experiment with, but I want to show you kind of the things that I'm finding with this. First of all, it's a beautiful sound. It's a beautiful sound. I've got the delay turned off now, and it just sounds like a beautiful acoustic guitar. It doesn't sound like an acoustic guitar in the room. It sounds like an acoustic you might have mic'd and mixed with a piezo, and you're putting some effects on. Now I'm going to get into the effects in a moment. We're going to jump into the editor and really look at what I'm doing. I'm going to show you how to download this preset. But first up, the number one main thing is I've already seen some people say it doesn't sound very good. The number one advice I would give you is this. Before you dial this thing in, go to the warmest tone on your guitar. And I mean, you can leave the tone up, but I just want to show you this. Here's the warmest tone on my guitar. So that's my neck humbucker. If I roll the tone down a little, you can play around with some of that tone, but when you go to the brightest, you can make that sound good, but you're gonna have to completely redial this thing in. And I think that is a real sort of, that's something we need to be aware of. When we're talking about the electric guitar and pickups, you know, it's relatively easy to make a sound on an amp that's not too dirty, that sounds pretty good on the neck and pretty good on the bridge. But if you download this and use this with a very bright guitar, your brightest setting, you're gonna find that it sounds thin. So my recommendation, the best sounds I've been able to coax out of the acoustic simulator have usually started from the neck pickup, and I'm usually leaving that tone all the way up or bringing it down just slightly. All right, so here we are in the editor in Rig Manager, and I've got my TJ Acoustic Sim pulled up, and right here you'll see amplifier and cabinet are off. Why? The acoustic simulator kind of does everything we need it to. We don't need to run an amplifier or a cabinet. Now what I will do in the future is try out some like IRs or profiles of like a Neve preamp, or maybe some profile of like an acoustic amp, or just something that I could profile that you might run your acoustic, your real acoustic through, and see what we sort of get from the acoustic simulator in that. But that brings me to this. What is the ethos for how we use this acoustic simulator? How should we approach it, feel about it? I would submit to you guys that the acoustic simulator should be judged on how well it gets us to a finished recorded acoustic tone, not to how close it sounds to a guitar in the room. Why is that? I don't think the sound coming through a speaker is ever going to give you the same sensation as having an acoustic body in your hands. It's just a different feel. So I'm going to judge the acoustic simulator based on how well it gets me a finished tone. And if you think about what a finished acoustic tone is, 99.9% of the time, that is an acoustic guitar mic'd up. That mic signal is sometimes mixed with the piezo pickup. and it's run into a channel strip. Now, what's a channel strip? A channel strip is a strip on a mixing board that is a combination of a preamp, a compressor, and an EQ. All of the 500 series stuff you buy today, all of the rack mount stuff that you buy, outboard EQs and everything, are usually just trying to emulate something that was in an old famous API board or something that Rupert Neve made in, the Abbey Road board or something. So a channel strip is really providing everything you need: a preamp for those microphones, a compressor, and an EQ to get you sort of a finished, polished sound. So I'm gonna approach the acoustic simulator as though all of those things could be part of our signal chain. Let's talk about compression and EQ, because I think you should be using these with the acoustic simulator. I'm using a compressor before and after, and I'm gonna show you what both of those look like. But what we get in the acoustic simulator is a control for pickup. This sort of, to me, controls how much of the piezo-y type sound you kind of want in your sound. Piezos have a unique sound all their own. They don't really sound like acoustic guitars. It's a little bit like banana candy. You know the flavor of banana candy, and you go, oh, that tastes like banana, but it doesn't really. No banana tastes like that. It's another flavor that someone associated with banana, and now you think banana candy tastes this way, and it's its own unique flavor. It's kind of like chicken nuggets. They're tasty, but they don't really taste like chicken. Body is girth, it's fullness, it's a little bit of that low end. How much body to the sound do you want? I like running this a little higher because I think there's a tendency, especially with thinner sounding pickups, for this acoustic simulator to sound a little thin. So ride that body up. Once you're riding the body up, I'm finding bronze is some of those upper mid kind of nice acoustic sound that comes through the mix once your body gets drowned out by everything else. These upper mids kind of give you a tonality to the acoustic, and the sparkle, kind of in conjunction with the bronze, are giving you that squeaky, feely kind of thing. The bronze is more that steely sound, and the sparkle is that high cymbally tss kind of sound you get on the acoustic guitar. Some of that upper end of the finger squeak and the clack of the strings. It's a really great sounding thing, but what we don't have here is a proper EQ, and so I don't see a reason why we wouldn't turn on an EQ. Now, what you were hearing there was a very small low cut, 70 hertz or lower, and that's because, it might not even be needed, to be honest. I just kind of dialed it in. But I am doing a little bit of a high cut, and it's interesting, when you put a high cut after this thing, it actually lets you maybe ride that bronze control a little higher while you're able to take out maybe some of the more offending high frequencies depending on your setup or depending on the speaker. You might also use the high cut instead of rolling the tone on your guitar down. That could be something. But what I'm finding is adding a little bit around 160 and a little bit around 320 helps me get a little more of a fuller dreadnought feel from this thing. I think if you're using single coil pickups, and I can do more videos about this, you're really going to want to come in here with the EQ, because this is giving us just so much more control, so much more tailoring ability. The acoustic simulator is making our guitar, our electric guitar, sound like an acoustic guitar, but we still want to have control over our EQ, right? What's the point of the Kemper and all this digital stuff if we don't take advantage of the control we have? And so I think an acoustic, I think EQ on this acoustic simulator in the form of a graphic EQ is just primo. It's really something that we should be using. Compressor, now listen, I'm using another compressor after this. I've dialed up the squash. The attack is still fairly fast, but I'm taking the mix down. So I'm not getting the most harsh compressed feel, but it is giving me a little more of a polished, evening out feel. And I just like that. Now here you're going to hear it with the compressor afterwards and the graphic EQ afterwards and without it. So first, here's without the graphic EQ and without this compressor. If I turn them off, this is just a little light compressor up front and the acoustic simulator. Okay, lovely. And now I'm going to turn these back on. So again, it's giving me a little boost at 160 and 320. Just a little bit of that, a little more body, right? A little more body, but I can really dial in what I want. And then I'm going to turn on this compressor to just sort of, I don't know, I just like the way it evens it out a little bit. And it to me feels a little more like a finished sound. Check that out. Look, to me, this thing is really incredible. I mean, I don't mic acoustic guitars all the time. I don't mix like folk records and stuff, but the sound I just showed you is as good as I could get with some of my mics and stuff. I mean, maybe, you know, I could experiment and get more and learn more about miking up an acoustic, but especially for those of us who primarily know about miking up amps and we don't mic acoustic instruments as much, I personally in my mic locker don't have a ton of mics that would be really choice for acoustic guitar, maybe the 414 or something, but to me, in a record, doing a demo, even for live use, are you kidding? Out of the park. You could convince someone that this is an acoustic guitar if they're not looking. Now, depending on what you're listening to, you may find that this is more or less authentic. I would encourage you to put on some headphones because there's really some beautiful high-end articulation happening from this acoustic simulator. It's very convincing in the high-end, squeaky, high-presency stuff. It's very convincing. It's really impressive they're able to get that out of a guitar pickup. It's almost like magic. I'm really blown away by this thing. Where would I use it? I'm the kind of guy who, when I first heard about the acoustic simulator, was like, okay, great, well, I have an acoustic guitar, I'll just play that. But where would I use this? You know, I play a lot on Sunday mornings, and sometimes we have these moments where someone's speaking, maybe it's a prayer, or someone is just sort of giving some announcements or something. You could use this live, and here's how I would use it. I might do something really classic, like switch my guitar over to this kind of acoustic sound and do something like a classic little medley of like Amazing Grace or something. I mean, you throw a little bit of pad behind that, or a little piano behind that, and I mean, you could convince people that that is an acoustic guitar on the stage. And that's honestly how I might use something like this practically. But I think if you're in a Bon Jovi cover band or you're doing something like that, and you gotta do the intro to Dead or Alive, man, you could dial this in and nail it. You really could. And you don't have to switch guitars. You don't have to deal with double stands. You know, a long time ago, I was in a band, and the lead singer, first of all, I played electric and keys. Bass player played bass and keys. Drummer played drums. And everybody played keys on the side because we didn't have a keyboard player. But the lead guy, the lead singer, he played electric, and he would walk up and use the acoustic on a stand. And we would do that live because we just didn't have enough people to emulate what we had done on the record. This would solve that problem for real. Now, it may not look as cool or depending on what you think, it may not look lame like an acoustic on a stand. But this is doable, it's usable, and man, you could throw down an acoustic guitar here. And if you think of pop music today, you think of guys like Oliver Tree and stuff, the acoustic guitars on those records are so processed and usually have like a filter on them to sort of make them sound small or way back. Dude, throw all your filters on here. You could get so many incredible acoustic sounds. I personally am blown away by this thing. This is probably the best acoustic simulator on the market, hands down.
This TJ Acoustic Sim preset is available as a free download at the link below. Thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. HW.